morning, everyone, and a very well welcome to Smart Cities from a Regional and Vietnamese Perspective webinar, organized and hosted by Hong Kong Business Association Vietnam and sponsored by FPT Software. We have over 180 registrations from many different countries, and is obviously a topic of interest. My name is Winnie Lam. I'm the General Secretary to the Hong Kong Business Association in Vietnam and the COO of Colliers International. I've been working in Vietnam since 2005, and I will take you through the program today. I would like to start by thanking our sponsor, FPT, for the webinar today, and their representative, Mr. Phong Nguyen, Chief AI Officer, and Mr. Kevin Nguyen, Senior Vice President from the Automotive and Manufacturing verticals, who will be joining us today. Our other guest speakers are Ms. Zoe Others, Smart Mobility and Regions Consultant, and Mr. Neil Walmsley from Arup. Also, Dr. Nguyen Viet Long, Director of Smart City Office of Bình Nhưỡng, and our moderator of Mr. David Jackson, CEO of Colliers International. It is my honor to be hosting you, and thanks in advance for your kind sharing. Hong Kong Business Association has the pleasure of many co-hosts to ensure a wide audience in Vietnam and in the region. We have 12 national and regional organizations to co-host our event today, and please allow me a minute to thank all of them. In the region, Hong Kong Trade Development Council, Hong Kong Australian Business Association Limited National, the Hong Kong Malaysia Business Association, and the Chinese General Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong. And in Vietnam, a great thank you to Britt Cham, Ken Cham, the Central and Eastern European Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam, the Council of Taiwanese Chambers and Commerce in Vietnam, Indian Business Chamber, Malaysian Business Chamber, Singapore Business Group, and the Thai Business Association. Thank you. Today we have 3 short presentations where our speakers hail from Singapore, Australia, Canada, and Vietnam. A panel discussion will follow where you can raise questions throughout the webinar by using your Q&A tab on the toolbar. For good housekeeping, the host has muted all your microphones and disabled your camera to ensure focus. We will not be taking any live questions to ensure the progress of the webinar. Any questions we do not manage to answer during the event, we will get back to you later via email if it is not sent anonymously. If you have encountered any technical difficulties, our suggestion is for you to log out and log in again, and then you should be okay. So without further delay, the very first presentation is from Arup. It will be co-presented by Neil and Zoe. Arup has been at the forefront of the most ambitious and challenging design and engineering for over 7 decades and is very recognized as a pioneer in smart cities around the globe. I have Neil here, who is the principal at Arup, and he works in Singapore. He leads Arup's Future Cities Hub there, as well as the advisory, planning, and design business across Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. His professional roots are in civil engineering and transport planning, and he has over 20 years of diversity and development planning experience across many countries. I have Zoe joining us in Australia today, and she is an experienced consultant in the area of smart communities that is making the places we work, live, and play more accessible, livable, and sustainable for all. Her experience has centered around smart mobility and smart city engagements. In 2019, she was awarded a Churchill Fellowship for an international study tour focusing on smart mobility, which included participation in the ASEAN Australian Smart Cities Leaders Program. So Neil, if you are ready, over to you.
Thank you very much, Winnie. I'll just try to get the technology working. Bear with me 1 second.
Yes, we would like to also see you live. Perfect.
Thank you. Can you just give me a thumbs up that you can see the cover slide? Maybe if you can just...
It is loaded. Yes, we are seeing it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Winnie, for the introduction, and good morning, everybody. Afternoon to those joining from places further away. So it's a great pleasure to be here, and I'm going to talk about, alongside Zoe, to talk about smart cities and what are they trying to achieve, because the starting point for this presentation is that lots of people talk about smart cities, but in my experience there are many different interpretations of what people actually mean or think they know about smart cities. So a 15-minute whistle-stop tour through maybe what are smart cities, and some experiences and observations from projects around the world. Hopefully that progresses. So a very, very quick introduction to Arup. We're an independent firm of designers, planners, engineers, and technical consultants. We have a global footprint, and indeed we have a long history of working in the cities space, and in particular looking at the ideas of smart cities. And frankly, as you'll see over the next 15 minutes, smart cities is actually a very broad subject, and often boils down to technology, but actually is much, much more. So moving on from that, let's start with a bit of context. What are cities trying to achieve? And if I think about Ho Chi Minh, or if I think about Hanoi, as cities, they exist to serve their citizens, to host their citizens, and ultimately they are cities in a competition with other cities, competing for investment, competing to attract talent, competing to retain talent. And if you take a Vietnamese city, you might argue that they're competing with Bangkok, with Kuala Lumpur, or with Singapore. You might also argue that they're competing on a global stage with Hong Kong, with London, and with New York. But regardless, the underlying agenda as a city leader has to be, how do I make my city better? How do I make my citizens happier? How do I attract investment? And that's nothing to do with smart cities. That's the real top-down driver of what city leaders are thinking about every day. And how do we measure cities' attractiveness? How do we measure the success of those cities? So externally, organizations like Mercer and like The Economist provide indices, the global measures of success. And some cities, Melbourne, Vienna, have gone out of their way to focus on ticking the boxes in these evaluation criteria to appear at the top of the list, to have this brand value of being the world's most livable city, or the city at the top of the quality of life index. And generally, cities in Southeast Asia don't score too well on this. And that's probably because cities in Southeast Asia are more focused on doing what they want to do for their citizens, not necessarily aligning with an independently defined set of criteria. But nevertheless, quality of life is ultimately what people are judged on, what people make their decisions on when they come to the ballot box in election cycles, regardless of where you are. And quality of life is a very broad concept. This is the European Commission's evaluation of what quality of life means: access to health and education, social, economic, safety, the environment. And the very top one for me is the most powerful, because it captures the essence of what cities are about, which is an overall experience of life. And when you think about the city where you live, you probably think of experience of life in terms of cost of living, in terms of whether it's a city that has a conscience, the city that's actually trying to make the world a better place. And ultimately all of that boils down to the brand of a city. How do you really perceive that city? When I say Manchester, what do you think of? When I say New York, what do you think of? When I say Johannesburg, what do you think of? Which one of those places would you like to invest? Which one would you like to live in? And cities are very complicated. Cities are not linear. There is no guidebook as to how a city works. There are hundreds of different facets across lots of different spatial locations over time, many different actors with different briefs and agendas, all trying to do their own thing for good reasons. And when you pull a thread in one side, 5 years later, something changes on the other side, and you can't ever really connect the pieces. So it's a very, very complicated thing to make a city a better place without really understanding deeply all of the things that are happening in a city. But on this diagram, you can see the technology, the blue on the bottom right, and it talks about smarter services. And this presentation is basically about what is a smart city. So let's jump on to what is a smart city. When I say smart city, I think people think about huge modern cities. They think about technology. They think about expensive infrastructure, 5G, and they think about lots of initiatives, lots of different things going on all at the same time. And I think all of those are valid, but actually they're only really valid because the marketing industries of the world have said smart cities means products. And so immediately you jump to an electric vehicle or a drone or a virtual reality or AI. And these are all very powerful things, and they're all very much have a place in our future cities. But a smart city isn't just a place that has all of those pieces available. And actually what we find is that smart cities aren't necessarily successful. There are empty smart cities. Smart city investments don't always work. Technology that isn't repaired. Smart cities might not actually get the real picture, the real point. They cater for some of the audience, but not all of it. Smart cities are built around this idea of technology facilitating, but there are many apps that no one ever downloaded. And of course, then the smart cities has technology implementations that nobody actually uses. So let's think more holistically from a city perspective. What should a smart city really be defined as? And for me, a smart city is a place that's got a clear plan to become more livable, where people can be happy, where communities are strong, where vibrancy is inherent, where things are more sustainable in terms of cost and resource efficiency, where operations are efficient, it's easy for people to move around, where the streets are clean, where services are delivered without uncertainty, and where there's vibrancy, unique experience, economic activity. All of these things are part of a smart city. But a smart city is a city that uses effective strategies, planning, policy, technology to achieve these goals. In simple terms, a smart city is a city that knows where it wants to be and has efficient use of strategies, including technology, to meet those goals. That's as simple as it is. It's really not about technology, it's about having a clear plan and using tools to make that plan happen. And this applies across a vast array: smart environments, smart mobility, smart governance, smart living, smart economy. And all of these things come together in terms of defining the quality of life for people that live in those cities. So with that as a framework, I'll hand over to my colleague Zoe, who's far more well-versed in smart cities than I am, to talk about in more depth about examples of smart cities that have gone well and smart cities that haven't gone so well. So I'll hand it over to you, Zoe.
Thanks so much, Neil, and thanks for having me here. So we're going to run through very quickly, because we don't have a lot of time, just some fails of why smart city plans fail, and what we can do to actually bring those things together to succeed. So the first thing I'll start with is the old smart city idea, and this is Songdo in Korea, in South Korea. I have been there. Now we have a vision of very technology driven, lots of talk about technology, but public transport wasn't necessarily effectively connected, so we've got lots of empty space. It's quite empty. One of the photos earlier was actually from Songdo as well, quite empty. And there are many technologies used, but we've got empty bike racks here. Just next slide. Yeah. And then the new smart cities, this is Barcelona, and I was able to visit there this time last year, or a little bit before. And the vision is by the people, for the people. So some of the actions, we've got a super block, which isn't necessarily a smart city initiative, but it fits into our communities. So making it easily walkable and using that super block, which is this photo here, of how we get around and actually creating spaces for living rather than just spaces for moving through. We've got public participation in policy, so lots of governance happening there, so I'm getting involved in those government services. And public services are really easily accessible, so that's online, but also public transport and those type of things as well. We've got another photo here, which is the electric e-bike network. Now, moving on to why smart cities fail. So we've got here, cities get lost in the ambition, so that real big vision, what's happening, and wanting to be the smart city of the world rather than the smart city that they are, so smart Ho Chi Minh, for example. So actually tailoring those solutions to their city. So one of the reasons they fail is that they aren't able to do that. Next slide. So actually, it's important to get a good understanding of the strengths and challenges that we have today in our city. And then we look at that city-specific vision, which is focused and concrete, but actually still flexible to move to where we want to go. Next slide. So the other one, which we talked about earlier, is tech. So if we only focus on tech, we get this split. So we get this disconnect between city planning and this smart city vision. So I've got all these strategies in place, but they're actually separate. So they're not working together, which won't work for a city. Next slide. So a good example of that is when they're actually integrated. So you've got that vision overall, you've got urban planning, transport planning, resources, and then digital is just one aspect of that. It's not, and we've said here on the slide, it's an enabler. So it's not necessarily, it's not something that just happens on its own. Next one. So this is an example of a smart street in New York. So we're not just talking about looking at, the public Wi-Fi or the fiber. We're actually looking at this in a more holistic approach. So I've got lighting, urban planning, transport planning, thinking about the infrastructure, thinking about the digital, thinking about that landscape. And we bringing those things in together is the only way that we can actually move forward in creating a smart street or a smart city. Next slide. So again, we're bringing this too much focus on technology first and then starting with the goals. So here, a bad example, we've got these priorities, but they all lead to one tech vendor, and then we come up with some tech-related results. Next slide. So if we want to move to a good example, we've actually got those integrated. So you can see our main objectives are they're not really anything to do with technology per se. So I've got full mobility, a green estate, and unique experiences for this particular city. And then you've got strategies, which include the physical and that digital value add down the bottom as well, moving through to implementation. Next slide. And the fourth reason why smart cities fail is the city tries to do it all on their own rather than working together with different groups. So we've got private sector, academia, community groups as well. We actually need to look at that whole ecosystem and what's already existing and what partnerships we can make rather than only trying to do it as a city or government agency on their own. So this really has to be the way forward for that multidisciplinary approach and bringing all those different ideas and thinking together. Now, the next slide is an example from a project we're actually working on in Australia at the moment. So what does it mean to bring that focus back to the people? So we're building a digital infrastructure plan for a particular precinct, a new innovation precinct in Australia. And the way that we use this is to identify the gaps. Talking about Laura here, she's a biotech CEO. She has a medium-sized business that researches and manufactures biomaterials. She's moved to Brisbane 3 years ago, and 2 years ago she moved to Greenville, which is our new precinct. She needed a bigger space but wanted to stay close to the university as she recruits lab assistants from that university. Now, Laura heard about Greenville being in Brisbane's new biotech hub and noticed that on Greenville's website, they were advertising a combined office and lab space in a new biotech-focused co-working space. Now, this was just next to Greenville Station, which she wanted to be near. And they were offering a discount for rent, for example, for the first 3 years because there was lots of construction happening around the area. Now, 2 years in, Laura loves being in Greenville. She's moved her family there. You can see her apartment there. And she has a shared garden and childcare facilities, and her children really enjoy learning about new sensors and data in their after-school digital skills program. They enjoy all the health-related initiatives in the area, from the community gardens to air quality initiatives. And they're able to close the street from traffic for an hour or so, and they've adopted a dog from the local found dogs home. Now, as the first business in this hub, Laura was part of the shaping project, which shapes the services and facilities that the precinct offers, such as biohazard waste collection services for a biotech firm and weekly innovation events. So she brought other biotech businesses she knows to the hub, which is helping Greenville build a reputation amongst investors and recruits, and has created this community. So this is the story of Laura. So in this user journey, as we call it, she's just one of many journeys that we've done for this precinct. And we're able to then look at, well, what infrastructure is already planned for Greenville? So I've got a couple of examples there. And then what infrastructure is missing to support Laura's journey? So for example, we're talking about the website, the dashboard, public realm activation, those open data initiatives, community-led projects such as closing your street for the day. So we're able then to do that and actually look at, from a people-centered approach, what infrastructure and technology will be able to support Laura in her journey. So this is just an example from a real project here in Australia. Now, I'm going to hand back over to Neil just to wrap up, and thanks very much.
Thank you, Zoe. So just finishing off here. So just to reiterate what I said earlier, a smart city is a city with a clear plan around livability, sustainability, operational efficiency, and vibrancy, and with a clear set of strategies, planning, policy, and technology that allows the city to achieve those goals. In very simple terms, it's a city that has a clear plan of what it wants to be, and it has clear and effective strategies in hand to meet those goals. So I think that's an illustration of some of our thoughts on what are smart cities and why do cities want to be smart. And with that, I'll hand back to the hosts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Neil and Zoe. Well, awesome efforts. You covered 27 slides in 15 minutes, setting a very good example for our follow-up speakers. All right, now that we know what a smart city is, let's hear it from Vietnam. Vietnam is up and coming, and because we are up and coming, we could be progressing much, much faster than many others developed countries when it comes to implementing smart technology and data-driven ideas. FPT Software is building an AI city in Quy Nhon in the central right now. And Mr. Phong Nguyen, Chief AI Officer of FPT Software, joining us from Canada today, is a visiting researcher in Mila, Quebec, Artificial Intelligence Institute, directed by AM Turing Award winner, Professor Yosha Banjo. Phong has more than 7 years working as industrial AI researcher for Hitachi, based in Tokyo, Japan. And he graduated with his Master of Science degree from Carnegie Mellon University in 2013. He's currently the Chief AI Officer of FPT Software. Phong, if you are ready, I'm handing it over to you.
Yep. Hello, Tracy. Hello. Yep, I'm ready. So.
All right. It is for you to take us through.
So first, I would like to share my screen, and if you can see my screen, please let me know.
Yes, we are seeing your screen.
Perfect. All right. Do I need to turn on my camera as well, or?
I think we would like to see you, if you don't mind.
Yep. Looking for it. Just a moment, please. Sorry. Okay. Can you? Yeah. So you have to let me share my camera because I can't right now.
Okay, we're fixing it. If we could just go ahead with with your screen, we will see you in just a sec.
No problem. Here you go. Oops. Yep.
All good. We can see you and see your screen.
Perfect. So which screen are you seeing right now? Is this a full screen or the presentation slide? just to make sure I'm on the right.
We're seeing the full screen now.
Okay, that's perfect. All right. All right. So first of all, I would like to begin my presentation with a video. So Tracy, can you help me to show that video at first? Perfect. Thank you very much. So back to my screen. So what you, first of all, thank you very much for everyone for attending this webinar with us. So my name is Phong Nguyen. I am the Chief AI Officer of FPT Software, a subsidiary company of FPT Corporation. So today my presentations will be about what you have just seen in the video, the smart city, Quy Nhơn Smart City, and with our AI center.
Sorry, Phil, not seeing your slide yet. If you can make sure that it is being hosted.
Okay, sure. Let me make sure it will be shared properly again.
Great, you're on.
Thank you. Sure. So we move on. So FPT, we are the ICT market leader in Southeast Asia. We are founded in 1988, and we just have our birthday 3 days ago, for 32 years old. We were listed in Vietnam Stock Exchange from December 2006, and our current revenue is around 2.4 billion in the last fiscal year. We have 36,000 employees at the moment. So our footprint has been spread all over the world, and we have presence in 25 countries, territories with 52 offices. In some countries like Japan, US, Singapore, we are the first Vietnamese IT company to operate and build subsidiaries there. And in Vietnam, Slovakia, Philippines, we are recognized in the top of the best employers in IT industry. Some of our new subsidiaries are newborn in 2020, which can be named, for example, UAE, Hong Kong, and India. So this is just a quick pictures about our digital transformation competency. It shows the expertise in digital services, ready-made solution, know-how in various platform, focus industries, and human resource across the global in different areas, and our partners as well. The results will help the client to implement big projects with high quality using smart solution and digital innovations. And in smart city, some of the key components you might want, as you have seen in maybe the previous presentations, which should be AI, advanced analytics, cloud, IoT, and big data, and of course, cybersecurity. So from the previous presentation, maybe you have learned about what is a smart city. However, I want to tell a little bit of another story. It's about a Society 5.0. It's a different perspective. So the definition of Society 5.0 is a human-centered society that balances the economic advancement with the resolution of social problems by a system that highly integrates cyberspace and physical space. So Society 5.0 was actually proposed in the 5th Science and Technology Basic Plan as a future society of Japan. And Japan is one of the most important market for FPT software. And it follows, you can see in here, it follows by the other society from Society 1.0. We have hunter and gatherer, and we have agriculture, and we move into industrial era. And when the computer was born, we have information society. And now with the future, we are building Society 5.0. As you can see that with Society 5.0, it's offered a new growth model with a view of solving social issues, as well as creating better future. And each will contribute to the achievement of sustainable development goals that the United Nations has raised out. And creating smart cities is one of the SDG we have. Creating smart cities where convenience, safety, and economic efficiency are made compatible. So inspired by that idea, and also with the concept of smart city, we decide to put our smart city in Quy Nhơn. And with the competencies of FPT software and FPT Corporation, we are trying to build Quy Nhơn as our AI center. So Quy Nhơn is located in the heart of Bình Định province. It's in the central part of Vietnam. The area is around 300 kilometers square with a population of only 300,000. It's a beautiful city with 2 universities. And Quy Nhơn University is recognized as one of the best university in Vietnam and specialized in mathematics and computer science. At the moment, we have around 25 direct flights in a day to Quy Nhơn, and it's actually opening up direct flights to Korea and Japan. So we have also international flight. We have ICISE, which is a very beautiful conference center, which hosted many scientific conferences all over the world. So as I have mentioned, FPT is investing into Quy Nhơn to build up not only a smart city, but also an AI valley in here. So we already opened actually. We opened a new branch of FPT University in Quy Nhon and named Quy Nhon AI branch, with an education focusing in artificial intelligence, with a complex of 38 hectares, with the investment around 4.5 trillion Vietnam dong, which is approximately around 200 million USD. It has been started. It has started in May 2019. And also we have offered 10 full AI scholarships from bachelor to PhD for outstanding students living in Vietnam province. AI Creative Valleys, which is what we hope for, is around 480 hectare smart city complex in Quy Nhon, and it is going to be built in 2020 with the first phase of 100 hectare, as you have seen in the video. That is what our vision of how our AI Valley with the smart city is going to be. So talking a little bit about the competency of AI in Quy Nhon, and to build up the smart city, we need a lot of technology, and AI is one of the key technology, one of the essential technology to build up a smart city. And at FPT Software, we are investing in AI research and development. This is one of the use cases we have built in the past. So our customer is one of the top-ranked Japanese financial institutions and manufacturing companies. And what they need is a technology to help them to detect the defect product automatically. And this is how we did it, is we can reduce the cost for inspection by more than 40%. We have a recall of good product more than 60%, and the recall rate for not good product is more than is 100% actually. So with this technology, it's not only to build an automated process for manufacturing company in the smart city, but we can also use the technology for many other things. For example, detecting the anomaly behavior in the city, or other technology. And another use case we have is we use AI technology to detect unpleasant call detection in the call center. So not only image or video data, we can also handle voice data pretty well. So the audio can be processed and can be classified as normal or abnormal. So in this case, this technology can be used also in a smart city solution, where we can detect the different audio in different environment in the smart city. So FPT AI Center as at a glance. So this is to show how we would like to proceed with our plan. We already established the FPT AI Center in September 2019. And it is the R&D center of FPT Software. At the moment, we have more than 1,000 employees working for AI Center with 50 AI scientists and more than 500 AI engineers. Our core activities involve developing the solutions, research, and education. And we have 182 projects with 70 clients in different domains. You can see manufacturing, automotive, transportation, entertainment, and utilities. One of the great things about FPT AI Center in Quy Nhon is we partner with one of the best institutes and companies all over the world. In here, you can see Mila is one of the best, one of the top AI Institute, leading by Professor Joshua Banjo. At the beginning, our hosts have introduced me as one of the visiting researchers in this institute. That's why I'm in Canada right now, learning the best technology in AI and help FPT Software to develop their top-notch AI solutions. And we have Palantir, we have Microsoft, AWS, and others. So in AI, in our AI center, we value the human resources in Quy Nhon. As I mentioned, Quy Nhon has one of the best universities in Vietnam in mathematics and in computer science. That's why talents are here. So that's one of the reasons we put our AI center in Quy Nhon. Other than that, we develop our internal domains with service-based, product-based, and research-based activities. And we want to publish to outside with conference, in conferences, in scientific conference with papers and white paper, journal, scientific journal, and so on. The FPT Software Competency Unit on AI, we name Quy Nhon AI, or in short QAI, was founded in this year, August 2020, just to focus on developing AI competency in Quy Nhon. So these are some of the pictures and some of the achievement we have. Talents from big university, many of them have prize at national math, IT, and mechanics, physics Olympiad, and awards in national scientific research contest for students. Yeah, so I'm moving to my last introduction slide. So this is our product portfolio. FPT AI products are designed to be cloud native, readily customizable, easy to implement with proven ROI. We have AI for cybersecurity, for surveillance, for operation, and for customer experiences. So that's how we contribute to the Quy Nhon smart city in the future. Thank you very much for your attention. And I would like to, if you have any questions, you can ask me at a later time. Yeah, come back to our host.
Thank you, Phong, so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Vietnam today and the future. Let me continue to showcase the Vietnam outstanding ability with our next speaker. Dr. Vinh Việt Long is currently the Director of Smart City Office of Binh Dung Province and the Deputy CEO of Vietnamese Corporation. At the Smart City Office, he coordinates breakthrough strategic projects for the socio-economic development of the province. Dr. Long is the former member of the Scientific Board of University Paris Dauphine and the Academic Assembly of Paris Science and Letters, community of 19 universities and institutes in Paris. He has been lecturing and conducting research internationally in management economics around the world. He is currently the Vice Chairman of the Scientific Council of National Research Institute of Applied Mechanics and Informatics in Vietnam, Academy of Science and Technology. He's going to walk us through the Vietnam policy and township planning of Binh Dung through a case study showcasing World Trade Center in New City, Binh Dung. This is very exciting, Dr. Long. Turning it over to you when you are ready.
Yes, I'm here. I'm sharing the screen. Do you see it?
Not yet. We'll give it a minute.
Okay. Now it's better.
Yes, we are seeing your screen. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So firstly, I have to say that I must thank you guys to invite me to be here and share a case study in Vietnam. So we have some information from Neil, representative of Arup, and then from FPT. And now I try to explain to you a real case in Vietnam, a city in Vietnam, a province in Vietnam. And I totally share with Nay and Joe the ideas of what is a smart city. I'm really happy when I see your presentation. I really appreciate a lot. You will see how we are similar in this point of view. And for FPT, you know that BKMX from Bình Dương province will also start our industrial park next week in Bình Định, so very close to your place. So talking about Bình Dương province, firstly, we are in the south of Vietnam. So you can see we are very close to Ho Chi Minh City, and we are in the southern key economic zone of Vietnam. It's very important zone. It takes about 50% of national GDP. And then, you know, since 25 years ago, Bình Dương is still a very poor agriculture province. Then we decided to make the first revolution, and we call it the industrialization, and we become a leading industrial region of Vietnam today. And however, our economy in the reality is still based on the traditional manufacturing. And that is the reason why in 2016, we decided to make a second revolution, and we call it the smart city. So we have a very clear plan what we want to move, like Neil already mentioned in his PowerPoint. In fact, we collaborate with Eindhoven City in Netherlands and build up together the smart city project. But this is not only on technology application. This is also a comprehensive vision where technology is just a part. We did convert, you know, 25 years ago, we did convert our economy from agriculture base to industry, but it's still classical manufacturing. And now we would like to upgrade our economy with a higher added value from additional manufacturing, traditional manufacturing to high-tech manufacturing and services, and raise up the income of the people to create a livable province and innovation ecosystem. And we develop not only the smart city, but an intelligent, creative community. So our definition of smart city is more like innovation ecosystem. For us, smart city is a connected, creative ecosystem where everything is improved, optimized, and innovated continuously. And the more knowledge and innovation are involved in the way people live and work, the more we have the real smart city. So we learned from Eindhoven City to apply the model we call triple helix model. It's a collaboration between government, business, but also universities, educational institutions. And this is very important. If we want to move to knowledge economy, of course, knowledge is very important. That's why we put it into the common collaboration of the province. And we all sit together, share our opinions, our challenges, our advantage, resources, and to build up together the strategy for the province, and also project by project, and commit our involvement in the projects together between government, businesses, and universities. And we believe on the evolution theory idea. It is not the species the most intelligent or the strongest, but is it the most adaptive with environment will survive. So how Bình Dương Smart City Action Plan look like? In the left side of my slide, you see the navigator. We call it Bình Dương Navigator. We have about 50 actions, and we divide into 4 domains: people, technology, business, and basics. So for the people in the first, on the top, we focus on administration reform, in triple helix exploitation, in connecting education and business, upgrading education, in integrating modern ideas such as Fab Lab, Tech Lab, Living Lab, Incubator, etc. And we would like to attract, to maintain, and to form knowledge workforce. talents. The second domain is technology. We focus on investment, right technology in the right way, right moment, right place, including government, enterprises, or even people daily life or environment, etc. So if we know how to play with that, then we can leverage our economy. We look at everything in comprehensive vision. Besides, we particularly focus on the attracting R&D from universities or from R&D institutes, but also especially from enterprises, like the one FPT already do with Big Ding. We also organize a similar thing like that. The third domain is business. In bringing into play the advantage of an industrial region with many enterprises and manufacturing, we connect enterprises to create a supply chain, not only in Bình Dương, but also in the whole east-south zone of Vietnam. And we also change the investment attraction method, focusing more in quality than the quantity. And we support our current enterprises to adapt 4.0 era and support our startup ecosystem. The fourth one is the basic. We concentrate in the hardware infrastructure, for example, roads, urban area, etc. But not only that, we also focus on ICT infrastructure, particularly the broadband, which is the key success factor in the future economy. And we also focus on software infrastructure, meaning making a good living style for people, a green, a vibrant, a creative environment for citizens. And we also rebranding our Bình Dương province in the worldwide market, in using a smart city as a message to attract many world top events, to integrate many important international associations. And from that base, we raise our attractiveness of the home province, but also the south of Vietnam. And in applying these new strategies, Bình Dương got many results. We apply many technology in our daily life and also in government. We build up the ICT infrastructure, the open and integrating database, for example, enterprise database. We also create the geographic information system. Is ranking one of the top in Vietnam for geographic information system. And we also build many fab lab, tech lab, incubators, and we connect university, everything with the business, with the need of the market. And what we have is the strong impact in the unbelievable success of Bình Dương province social economy during last 5 years. Just after like 4 or 5 years applying the new strategy, Bình Dương province just double its enterprise number. So from 20,000 to 45,000. And the infrastructure of Bình Dương now is #1 in Vietnam. And our income per capita is also the highest in Vietnam. And you see that if we move in the right way to catch up the Industry 4.0 movement and to really see what we want to move, then we can get a lot of success, a lot of impact directly in our economy. And now we organize many successful top worldwide events in Bình Dương province, like Global Innovation Forum of UNESCO and the World Technopolis Association, the Horasis Asia, etc. So these kind of events is also bringing to the province each year thousands of CEOs and of international companies and hundreds of mayors of cities and rectors of universities around the world. and we successfully integrate the World Technopolis Association, the World Trade Centers Association, the Intelligent Community Forum, etc. And you know, it just in 2 years, to last year, we were selected as one of the 21 cities who has the most suitable smart city strategy of the world of the year. So during the COVID, of course, COVID created a lot of problems, but some people already mentioned before, COVID also gave us opportunity to sit down, to self-prepare and self-reform. You know, during COVID, we have less economic activities, then we spend our time to reform ourselves. And we built up a new strategy for the Diem province after COVID, what we have to do. Firstly, we upgrade the smart city program to be more focusing on innovation, on digital economy. Everyone see that how COVID impact in digital economy. But of course, we still based on the industrial province. So we upgrade our smart logistics. We use the river logistic and railway, not only the road, the normal way. We also build up the Science Tech Industrial Park. It's quite similar with the ideas many people start to do now. Is we build an industrial park, but not only for industrial, but also for high tech. And we build a university cluster. We have a university town where we create the best livable environment for experts and scientists. And we also build up during the COVID time the Smart Manufacturing Center. It's like a hub to connect many different international companies, such as Schneider, Intel, Amazon Web Services, etc., to join with the hub and join with us to support our current enterprises on site in the Diem province to upgrade the process of production to be more efficient and closer to the and adapt the new requirement of the new market today to adapt the industry 4.0. And one of the very important thing we also build up is the World Trade Center. You know, we have to fight to be the member of World Trade Center. So we have a center in the new city with you can say it's a combo. We have the hotels, we have exhibition centers, and we have also many you know, like activities to connect people. And the World Trade Center is very important as they connect with the whole world. The whole World Trade Centers around the world is about 300 and in 90 countries. And it can help our enterprises, our current enterprises in the Diem province can connect with the supply, with the value chain of the whole world. And inversely, the enterprises abroad can also, through the World Trade Center, go directly to our Diem province. We also build up, you know, the training system and also investment, promoting, etc. program to support the whole community of enterprises and also for people to connect with other World Trade Center around the world. So you see that we try to upgrade our current enterprise. We try to build up something to really raise the quality of our industrial parks, and we also build up a bridge to connect our enterprise with the world to be stronger and profit more. We can say the revival situation of the world after COVID. Thank you for attention, and feel free to share with me any question. Now I pass to Winnie Lam again.
Thank you, Dr. Long. Talking about bringing Vietnam to the world and the world to Vietnam is very interesting presentations that we've heard from concept to implementation. It's time to bring all the speakers back for the much anticipated discussion. And if your speakers turned on your camera, we'd like to see you. Mr. David Jackson, our moderator today, CEO of Colliers International in Vietnam and Cambodia, has spent his last 13 years here as a real estate consultant. David is a savvy regional real estate and investment professional and advisor, relocating from the UK, and is the RICS representative in Vietnam also. Welcoming to the panel also Mr. Kelvin Nguyen, Senior Vice President of FPT Software, Automotive and Manufacturing Vertical. He will be joining Phuong and FPT. Hopefully David will have some tough questions for him. Welcome to the panel, Kevin. And David,
Hi.
if you're ready, over to you. We are quite on time. I will try not to interrupt if you are having a vigorous discussion, and take us forward, David. Over to you.
Winnie, thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you very much to the Hong Kong Business Association Vietnam and FPT for allowing us to join today and have this discussion. Also, I'd like to thank all the panelists in the presentations. Very interesting. A lot of topics to discuss there. I guess Dr. Long just touched on it a little bit at the end of his presentation, but I'd actually like just to ask Zoe from Arup, first of all, just in terms of COVID-19, how has that impacted the smart city agenda internationally, in your opinion?
Yeah, thanks so much, David. I mean, it's been an interesting one, and I've had lots of conversations with people around the world in different countries about how it's affecting them. I think we're seeing different levels of digitization, which has helped governments and different countries. So where we've had that foundational infrastructure in place where we can connect to the internet and stay connected, and particularly people with knowledge-based jobs, we've been able to move back home and do work from there. But it's definitely impacted, I guess, the ability for physical, jobs and that type of thing, which obviously is fairly apparent, but also the confidence in big projects moving forward and shifting that focus to include a digital layer. I think it's also drawn a focus away from tech and widgets, that kind of end goal of, robots and things, to actually, well, what will my city or my region or my town need, and really integrating that into what people are asking for. So it's been up and down, and it still continues to flow back and forth, but I think we'll see a greater focus on the people and how digital really integrates into that.
And so I guess in Vietnam, the Ministry of Information and Communications, they set up in District 12 in Ho Chi Minh City systems for databases and other things, mainly focusing on health and well-being, I think, as a thing from COVID. But just in terms of Phuong and FPT, obviously you've got a large presence in Vietnam in terms of communications and stuff like that. Have you seen a push, a strive to in Vietnam because of COVID-19? That's a question for Phuong.
Yes. Thank you for your questions, David. So yes, so definitely we saw an increase in demand for digital transformations, and the world after COVID-19 would be a very different world that we ever known. We will have more technology to support our daily life, with more focus on healthcare, more focus on contactless. And in order to enable all of these support, digital transformation and artificial intelligence would be one of the, and also like big data and so on, would be one of the key technologies to do that.
Okay,
Yep,
and good. And sorry, so just to kind of move around quickly, but Dr. Long, you obviously you talked a little bit about Bingyong. Bingyong's a big, important center in the south, massively in terms of development and industrial premises. But is Bingyong unique in terms of where it has a clear agenda in terms of where it's going in terms of Vietnam? Or is that quite common in Vietnam in terms of having a good process moving forward? Is Bingyong unique or is it standalone?
Okay, to be clear, Bingyong is not unique. You know, in Vietnam, we have many provinces move very quickly, but Bingyong is still one on the top of the, I talk about the speed and also about the quality of economy. We are also on the top. I already shared with you, we are always in the top 5 of Vietnam of almost everything. For example, the income per capita of Vietnam, we are number 1, also in education, etc. But what I see is in Vietnam now, a lot of provinces try to adapt and to take new strategy to develop. Is very nice and very clear. A very clear example is the one FPT already showed in Bình Định province, and even in Bình Dương, we also invest in many different regions in Vietnam through our companies, including BKMX, the one I'm deputy CEO now, and we move in another province and support them to develop better. And normally, each province has different approach, is what Neil already said. In Bình Dương, we are very industrial province orientation. So now our approach is try to upgrade our industry and also integrating more the service to raise up, you know, the balance between service and industry, and also focus on people now to raise up the quality of life, not only economy, but in other provinces. For example, Da Nang, they can focus more in tourists. It's different, you know, it's different city, different goal. So, but what I see is Vietnam is raising up very quickly, not only in Bình Dương, but everywhere. And Bình Dương is still on the top. But if we don't find a new way, we can be behind. So that is the reason why we propose many new ideas I already mentioned to you guys.
And I guess following on from that, Phung, in your presentation, you talked about Quy Nhon, and you talked about going there because of the human resource aspect of Quy Nhon. But why FPT pick Quy Nhon apart from that? There's obviously many places you can go that are next to bigger city centers that have more developed infrastructure. Why did FPT, with all due respect, choose Quy Nhon?
Thank you for the question. So like I mentioned in my presentation, so human resource is one of the key and one of the most important decision makers making decisions. But there's many other factors that we chose Quy Nhon as our AI center, AI valley, and also the place to put our FPT smart city. Other than that, you know, maybe if you believe in feng shui, for example, so Quy Nhon has mountains. It has also a long coast, beautiful sea, and the governments of Quy Nhon is also a great support for this initiative to build up a smart city and AI valley. In Quy Nhon, we have many scientists, and the government has recognized that it's better for Quy Nhon to follow as one of the green city and to become one of the cities that promote science and technology. So we want to promote this kind of green technology rather than like develop into industrial city or something else. So the governments, the nature, and of course the food there are very, very good, very jealous. If you have a chance to visit Quy Nhon, please come by and enjoy the time there. we have a great luxury resort there. Food are great, people are great. So many things to consider. It's one of the best locations for us to put in.
Yeah, lovely beaches too.
Yes.
But so in terms of Quy Nhon, you know, becoming a regional AI center from yourself, how long do you think the timeline is for that to become a goal? How long do you think it will take? Obviously, there's a lot of factors going on. So how long do you think that will take?
Yes, so we have a vision from 3 to 5 years. We would become one of the regional AI center. Regional here can mean Vietnam and Southeast Asia. And we aim to be one of the hotspot for AI that's happening in Asia, and in the future it would be the world. So we have a vision from 3 to 5 years to develop our key competency. And for smart city and beyond, it's a long battle. We cannot build it overnight. So it can be up to, we have to build up the competency in over the next 10 years. So the timeline, 3 to 5 years, is our short timeline to bring Quy Nhon to be visible in the map of Vietnam and the regional of Southeast Asia.
And a quick question for Neil at Arup, if that's okay. So obviously when you had a very good presentation, very clear overview of smart cities, and very broad strokes, because it's a big subject to talk about. And so it's quite a little bit of a difficult question, if you don't mind me asking, but in terms of smart city vision, what's the most advanced? Are people moving for infrastructure first, or are they moving for healthcare or communications? Where do you see the most movement in the region and in Vietnam?
Yeah, good question, David. Thank you. Look, there's an old saying, invention. I can't remember the saying. It's necessity is the root of innovation. Is that right? Something
That's
like
correct,
that.
Yeah.
And so my first job in Arup, which was before the turn of the millennium, was in water engineering. And the water engineering industry was using telemetry to monitor network conditions in 1995. So smart cities is not a new idea. Yeah, I worked on a project in the city of York in the UK in 2002, where they were modeling their entire traffic network and doing real-time network changes through traffic signal controls to optimize flow in the system. But at that time, they had a room full of people controlling things manually in response to information. The smart city of the future is the place where that all happens without any real human intervention. So I think traditionally, when we saw problems, the water, the sewage management system overflowing, the drainage system overflowing, the congestion in the traffic network, technology became the smart way to address those problems. And so those kind of agendas are quite mature now, water management, traffic management, etc. I think that where technology can make people's lives better, this much more soft side of smart that I think we've all talked about, has become, has been rolled out in a less aggressive way, because it's about persuading society to adopt new ways of behaving, new ways of doing things. Hence comments about apps that no one ever used, because we can all sit at home having great ideas about wouldn't it make my life easier if, but actually until you get critical mass into community and society as a whole, you don't actually get the real benefits of the embraced uptake. And a good example of that is mobility as a service. Everybody that you talk to that's got any views on mobility as a service will say the idea of buying mobility on a consumption basis makes lots of sense for everybody and for the system. But persuading 70% of the population to subscribe to that approach is a completely different challenge. Interestingly, COVID, I think, has accelerated on some agendas. So for example, cashless society, 5 years ago, everyone said, yeah, cashless society, maybe one day. Now, I've noticed literally in the last few weeks that I don't take a wallet with me anymore. I pay for everything using my mobile phone. And I know that makes me a bit of a dinosaur, because there'll be people on here who've been doing that for 2 or 3 years. But I have just evolved into, well, I don't need to take my wallet. I can just take my phone, because I haven't spent the last 6 months walking around with my wallet in my bag, because I've not been walking around with a bag because I've been working at home. So I think there's lots of different triggers, and there's lots of different levels of completeness or progression. But ultimately, I think it's very clear that there is progress at different degrees across all of these agendas, and they're all converging towards cities that manage themselves more efficiently and where the people can access what they need without so much effort.
Great, thanks, Neil. Neil, you're making me sound like a bit of a dinosaur. Unfortunately, I still use cards and cash. But speaking of that, so joining us in the conversation is Kevin, also from FBT, but from FBT Automotive and Manufacturing Verticals. And Neil touched on it briefly a little bit about sort of transportation and other stuff like that you're actively involved in, and looking at smart mobility around the situation. But could you, in terms of FPT and the sort of AI technology and the deep learning solutions that you guys are working with, can you share anything that has that you guys are working on that has a direct impact on customers? Like Neil says, you know, how are you influencing people's lives at the moment?
Okay, so this is Kevin Nguyen from FPT Software. Thank you, speaker. Thank you, panelists, for having me and sharing your very interesting stories. So from right now, I'm running the automotive and manufacturing sector vertical in FPT Software worldwide. I spend most of my time now to bring the autonomous things to the smart city, to the factories, and also I want to, I'm bringing the digital transformation for supply chain, from production to logistics in the, some industrial zone or some factory in Vietnam, in Japan, and in Korea, etc. So you asked me about how AI and technology and my activity can impact to the user. Right now, for autonomous things, we are spending a lot of effort to since 2017. It's the 4th year now. We have a solution for autonomous driving. We call it HKBAV. So our solution is being used as for the last mile, for the smart mobility within the smart city, like some smart city in Vietnam. Also, our solution is being used in the AGV, autonomous guided vehicle, in big facility like factory, warehouse, and our sensor fusion and AI. We use we apply deep learning in our solution. Of our solution can help object recognition and to detect some defects or problem within the surface of product of the production lines. And of course, our AI solution, which we develop within the HKBAV solution, it can help to monitor the safety and some of the operation of operator in the factories. So we are applying it very effectively in some factory in Vietnam and in Japan. So regarding the manufacturing operation suite, we have a solution called HKMES. MES stands for Manufacturing Execution System. And it is being used to scheduling of production lines, optimizing both time and space. It is used for a heavy industry company in Japan. And also our HKMES is being used to control lithium battery production line. The battery will be used for vehicle, will be used for ventilator. Yeah, thanks to the COVID-19, a lot of the need for ventilator in Vietnam is increasing, and we have them to do the transformation of the manufacturing. And also, of course, we have many cases for HKBAV dry and HKBAV mass, and I believe that COVID-19 is bringing more opportunity to transform the digital for manufacturing and for smart city. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. So basically looking at manufacturing and driving and lifestyle changes to make life better for people. Just a quick question to Zoe at Arup, if that's okay. So that's FPT we've got today. Obviously, they're a big company, and then you have other private institutions and government institutions. But who's actually driving this change in smart cities? Who's putting the money behind it, do you see?
Yeah, great question, and it really does depend on which city and which town and which region. I'd like to say that it's the people driving the change, but from financial perspective, we have to see investment from all sectors, so government, industry, academia, definitely government from a I guess driving change approach, but it has to be about the community. So how we're actually bringing the community along for the journey, not even just along for the journey, but actually they're driving this. I think there has to be a radical increase of engagement. What we think about, who we're asking and what questions we're asking. We have to be asking really good questions for the community. I think there's going to be a significant change when we do move into real smart cities, or what I like to call smart communities, because it's not just about the city, it's about the regional areas as well. But definitely investment from the government is needed on all scales, and I like to think of it as not just a grassroots or a top-down approach, but actually that middle piece is really key.
Sure. Thanks, Zoe. Just before we wrap up, just a bit of a tricky question for Dr. Long. Apologies. Just in terms of the Vietnamese government, obviously one of the things we're talking about here is data. Big data. We're talking about data to make people's lives better. Now, obviously, similar to China, Vietnam has put laws where data centers have to be located in Vietnam. Are there any other restrictions that you see in terms of data or smart cities? Maybe it's the internet speed. What issues does Vietnam have going forward in terms of smart cities?
Okay, it's quite tricky.
Sorry, apologies. I just wanted to finish on a tough one. Unfortunately, you got the pick.
Yeah. Okay. So what I see today in Vietnam about the smart city, first one is some people still understand about smart city, and not only smart city, also industry 4.0 and everything related with. Sometimes they understand in different way, and they try to build up it in different way, and we miss an harmonization between regions, between ministries, or between top leaders of enterprise, of government, and even university. The second thing, I think the biggest one is Vietnam is still missing. We really need, like what Phong already mentioned, the human resources. We need a manpower better to really not only using the smart city or using the smart equipment, but also involved in the production of smart, production. We need it. So I think that is an important thing we have to focus. And thirdly, even about the regulation, we still have some difficulty to really build up a good regulation to one more time to harmonize different units and regions in Vietnam together. Also in database, for example, you say database, our last question is how our database in different places can be, can have the same standard, and how can we connect them, not only in technology point of view, but also the on the how to say collaboration point of view. Like some data you cannot open it because some regulation restrict you to do it. So, and you really need it to build up, you know, the common database, but it's still turning around with this question. That is the big deal of Vietnam. But you know, today, as you see that with after COVID, with COVID, it's even more. We have a larger movement in Vietnam about digital economy and sharing information. So I saw that the point of views of people in Vietnam is changing. And the government pushed very strongly. I'm also the member of some council in Vietnam. Then I got some information and some meeting directly with top leaders of Vietnam government, and I saw that the government tried to push maximally to catch up the opportunity we have right now. And you see that the opportunity of Vietnam right now is not only digital economy, it's many things, you know, after COVID. So that's why everyone understands the importance of this moment. We have to move. So I really believe that the government, the enterprises, and everyone will move faster in very near future.
Thank you for that. Oh, hello. Winnie's coming on, which is telling me that almost to wrap up time, right? But just a quick question, if that's all right, finally to Neil. So Neil, just obviously, just to kind of conclude everything, we're talking very diverse topics here. You know, is there any sort of grading system about how smart a city is? Is there any sort of a scale about how much people are adapting and bringing something in that can be measurable? As Dr. Long just mentioned, you know, there are lots of different districts maybe not working in unison together. Is there any sort of grading that you can have?
Yeah, good question, David. So as I mentioned in my earlier slides, there are ways to measure cities' performance relative to each other from a livability point of view, and no surprise, there are also indices that are published that rank cities in terms of their smart adoption. And you know, I don't have the references to hand, but they do exist. I've seen examples that say that Singapore's top of the tree. I've seen examples that say other cities are way ahead. So yeah, they do exist. I think it's interesting that in your question you refer to cities and then you refer to districts, and it's absolutely, you know, a city holistically is only going to be smart if the people of the city are living in a smart world and everything around them is just facilitating that kind of easy lifestyle, you know, whether it's reporting a pothole or ordering your lunch. I think that when you talk about districts and with developers obviously on the call, it's about defining a new standard that attracts investment and provides a product that exceeds the kind of the baseline that existed prior. And I think that actually the opportunity for the development sector to take cities in that new brave direction and demonstrate the value by unlocking the opportunity for investors is probably the future that the post-COVID world presents to us all right now.
I think that's from the Q&A session. I'd like to thank everyone for taking part. I'm sorry if there were some difficult questions there. They're really interesting to go into a bit more detail with you. And I can thanks very much again for the time. And I'm going to hand back to the host, Miss Winnie Lam. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And this is a great discussion. It's good to understand that tech doesn't mean smart. And it's not just about smart city, it's about smart living, it's about better efficiency and better living quality for everyone. Well, it's too bad we're running out of time. Any questions we are not able to get to in the Q&A panel, we'll get back to you privately. A video of this webinar will be available in the next 48 hours, and also the presentations from our speakers. I would like to, on behalf of Hong Kong Business Association, thank you Zoe, Neil, Mr. Feng, Kevin, Dr. Long, as well as David, for sharing your thoughts with us. And to the participants, sorry if we need to wait your lunch hour a little bit. Thank you for spending time with us today, and hope that you have enjoyed this. If there is a topic out there you would like to hear from HKBAV, or you would like to be featured in our next webinar, please send us an email. Until we see all of you again after COVID, and see you and goodbye. Thank you.
FPT commits to creating a positive impact on the community through autonomous technologies that transform the experience we have with vehicles. AI, IoT, data analytics, and image processing are integrated to make the vehicle fully driving itself at the speed of 25 kilometers per hour. Autonomous vehicle features optimize routes, identify road lanes, and execute U-turns. Slow down automatically at sight of obstacle ahead. Users book the vehicle via a mobile app. Pick up and drop off passengers as requested. Different algorithms and multiple sensors are used. Deep learning-based techniques are integrated. The past years have seen Made by FPT autonomous technologies successfully integrated into vehicles and tested at different scenarios. We look forward to the day where autonomous cars using our technologies could be adopted across urban areas, luxury resorts, factories, and warehouses. Accelerate future automotive.